welcome to the Pressure Point Podcast. Should I start like that? That'd be real weird. Really shock everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
It's funny that it's Essendon player testing positive or something, isn't it?
Pull your finger out of your ass.
Jeez.
This is my first ever football jumper. My three votes, I should say. My three votes for
Three
Charlie. Oh, top of the world, mate.
What a time to be alive.
I look a bit like Nickel Bellic from GTA 4, I feel, with this.
That could get dangerous. All right, round two has been run and won. Some big results over the weekend. Some teams under an extreme amount of pressure coming out of that round, and some real surprise packets as well. And we're 2 rounds in, and there's already been some massive talking points, and there's already been teams written off and things like that. What were your thoughts on a big round two?
Well, as you said, I think a lot of teams are under pressure, which is funny to say considering they're only 0-2, although they can be detrimental for the rest of the season. It's a longer season this year compared to last, so there's plenty of time for teams to catch up and, turn their season around, if that's what you want to call it, this early in. But yeah, a lot of pressure for a lot of teams, I think, at the moment. But as always, the round has given us a lot to talk about. Yeah,
it's great. We love doing this podcast for all these massive talking points. It's so good. And 2 rounds in, and some of the stories that have been written about some teams, it is ridiculous. And some players, like there's 20 rounds left, and there's already teams saying, "Oh no, you can't play." No one plays finals from 0-2. Why not?
Yeah, there's no reason why not. Yeah, look, there was obviously a bit of a record, I think, of recent time where only a certain amount of sides have, started the season 0-2, then played finals. But you can't really look into that too much because that's just almost coincidental. It's not like it's a certainty. And then, certain players getting written off this early already because they're not having a great season. Stephen Canelio, another one, he was obviously in the AFL documentary making their mark. He's had a couple of, probably a slow start to the year, you'd say, but Stephen Canelio is a good player. He's not going to be written off this early. So, yeah, a bit bit weird, bit different in my thoughts, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll start with, probably the biggest talking point from the weekend of footy was that Geelong-Brisbane game on Friday night with the controversy at the end. Well, not even that. It was, Brisbane are still stuck in Melbourne due to the COVID reasons, and some of their fans were told to leave the ground and go isolate. A couple of commentators and I think some of the club officials as well. So it was a chaotic night down in Geelong, and if you'd be absolutely filthy if you're a Brisbane fan after seeing that shocking non-decision in the last minute of the game.
We speak about umpires a fair bit on this channel, and a lot of people do as well. And, everyone always goes, you can't blame the game on the umpires. But that was literally the umpire's fault that Brisbane lost that game. And the worst part is, and the biggest kick in the dick, if you want to call it, for Brisbane, is that the AFL came out and said, yep, they got that wrong. There should have been a free kick. Now,
what good does that do?
Exactly. That's all well and good, but Brisbane still lose that game and they don't get the 4 points, even though it was just outside the goal square. He was going to kick that goal. And they would have won the game, gone on. Geelong are then 0-2, and they have question marks all over him now. Oh, what a great thrilling finish to the game. Geelong, it's a different story.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, and then on top of that, Brisbane are stuck in Melbourne. They can't even fly home after all this. So, interesting week for them, but I think Brisbane are a good enough side where they'll take this on board, and I don't think it will affect them too much.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. As we just mentioned before, teams that are in 0-2 historically can't play finals, but is anyone going to be... No one can really write off Brisbane, can they?
No, not the Lions. Not the Lions. They're too good. They've got too good of a list. Yeah, they'll be fine.
They'll definitely be up there. They've just had 2... they probably... they got smashed by Sydney the week before, but Sydney's form at the moment shows that probably wasn't a shocking loss in comparison to what they're doing. So I think Brisbane will be fine. And that umpiring decision was just ridiculous. And even for Blitzarves to come out and say that he had prior opportunity... Mate, you took the ball, spun, and then got tackled.
Yeah. He said that he didn't have prior opportunity.
Your prior opportunity was when you spun.
Yeah, if you try to do a spin move, that's prior opportunity. Yeah. Trust me, from someone who does a lot of spin moves in his time, that's prior opportunity. If you've got time to think about it, turn around a bloke, get tackled and drop it, you're gone, mate. I honestly think Blitzarves is not all there. I know he's obviously not going to come out and be like, yeah, it should have been a free kick. But just some other things I've seen him do, and he just looks a little bit dopey at times.
That was bizarre. It was just a bizarre night of footy, that was, right from the start with everything that was going on. So
it was set up to be controversial, I think.
Stay on the Geelong theme. Has Paddy Dangerfield playing in the VFL while he's suspended? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, classic Geelong to find a loophole in the rules, but so for those that don't know, Dangerfield was suspended for 3 games, and then on the weekend played in the VFL because of a loophole, but because it was only a VFL practice match, he was allowed to play, which that's going to be fixed. Because what's the point of being suspended in that case?
Ridiculous. I think it's because it wasn't an official season game in the VFL because their season hasn't started yet and it's still just practice games. So I think what's the point of being suspended if you're allowed to play, a relatively high standard of footy?
It's still VFL.
Yeah,
VFL is
exactly right.
The second highest, you know, especially now that it's integrated with the other interstate competitions.
Yeah.
It's right up there. So, I don't know how. I mean, obviously, it was a loophole that the AFL hasn't been confronted with yet, and no one's exploited it. And trust Geelong to be the first team to exploit it. But they've got to look at that and fix it, because I think we're going to see a lot of suspensions this year. And we saw another one this week with Sam Reid knocking out Nat 5. And I think we're going to see a few more throughout the season. And if they're going to be able to go down to the VFL and play games, it's going to be, not going to be a good look.
Sticking with Geelong for a second, Chris Scott, what were your thoughts on his shenanigans at quarter time? It's not the first time he's done something like this either.
Mate, we all know what type of bloke Chris Scott is. He is fiery. He was like that when he played footy. So in that case, no surprises there. But stick to your own side, mate. Stick to coaching. Don't get involved with the on-field stuff. It's not a good look. Just because you got a beard, a bit of a tan, long hair now doesn't mean you can start having a go at other players. So just stick to the coaching side of things. And I think that's not a great look. I don't think that's.
Don't get involved. No need to get involved at all.
Not at all.
It just can cause massive issues. I mean, you see that sort of stuff at local footy, and then things just kick off, don't they? When like juniors, where parents and coaches get involved with the other team, it causes a lot of trouble. So just steer clear of it. And I think Chris Fagan came out and was like, there's just no need for coaches to get involved like that.
And I'm glad Fags did that. I really like Chris Fagan.
Yeah, he's good.
He's probably one of the biggest role models in terms of coaches, I'd say anyway. Everyone says he's like that father figure. He's probably the right age for it too. But he's definitely on the money there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you briefly touched on it before, but Nat Fyfe, with his concussion, he will be missing this week's game due to the protocols, and it was a massive hit from Sam Reid. I think he's come out. You got 2 weeks, didn't it? Yeah,
2 weeks.
That happened tonight. Yeah, so
2 weeks.
2 weeks, which I think is fair. It was a pretty big bump. Knocked Fyfe out.
It was a big bump.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you saw the footage or not. Well, obviously you did, sorry, because you just said it was a big bump. But
it was a big bump.
It was a big bump.
So I've seen it.
But it was actually quite funny because Sam Reid pretty much didn't move. He just stood still and just raised an elbow. He's a big boy to be able to knock someone out like that. Fyfe had all the momentum, obviously. But Reid pretty much just stood his ground, but he did raise the elbow.
He raised the elbow after
Once you've done that, that's it. See you later. So I think it's fair as well. 2 weeks is plenty. If it had been any more than that, it would have been questionable because he didn't go out of his way. He just more, you could almost say he was defending himself, not like Dangerfield tried to do the other week. But you've raised the elbow. That's it. See you later.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fair. And then, Nat Fyfe misses the game against Carlton this week, which is huge.
Well, you guys will be. I was going to say you guys will be looking for a bit of a helping hand at this point. I would have thought coming into a game against Freo, which another game you're expected to win.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it
later.
Get to it. I see the look on your face.
COVID's reared its ugly head again in the AFL. 2 weeks into the season, and we've already got a city in Brisbane forced into a snap lockdown, which means their players who are stuck in Melbourne couldn't leave the state the other night, and now the game against Collingwood on Thursday night, which was meant to be played at the Gabba, has now been moved to Marvel Stadium. So 2 weeks in, when we thought all this COVID stuff was behind us, we've got it 2 weeks in, which is crazy.
We just can't seem to get rid of it. I'm glad it's not in Melbourne this time around because I've just started enjoying going back to the footy. But it's going to be interesting. I don't know if this really suits either side because it's not at the G, so it's not like Collingwood then got the home ground advantage. And it's a small ground. The Gabba is probably a little bit smaller. What do you reckon? It's much bigger than Marvel?
It'd be about the same, I reckon. Maybe a fraction smaller.
Yeah. So I think it'll probably it'll suit Brisbane a little bit as well. So I don't think it'll be too much of an issue for them. I still think they'd go in favourites, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
but we'll wait and see how that all pans out. But they did get given a home game later in the year. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, they did, and which means they've got 4 consecutive games at the Gabba to finish off the season. So that'll be huge in their finals push.
Geez, that's Richmond-esque there. Normally getting the 4 games at the MCG leading into finals. It's tables have turned.
Kane Corns might say something about that, you reckon?
Watch Kane Corn say something. If it was Port Adelaide getting 4 games at Adelaide Oval, he wouldn't say anything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Well, we touched on it before, but the Sydney Swans are surprising everyone. They've had 2 big wins to start the season and massive scores as well. And they're a club that's not renowned for their high scoring. They're usually known for their defensive, low scoring games. And to kick, I think it was 120 points both weeks. They're looking very good, and they've got a very good young team with some unbelievable stars like Logan McDonald, who started really well Something just falls down behind you, Quinn.
One of the audio panels. I think we need some new sticky tape.
Wasn't the photo of you, was it? That's unfortunate.
No, that won't fall, mate. That's solid.
But yeah, the Swans are looking very good for the first 2 weeks, and Buddy Franklin being back on the park last week was great to see, wasn't it?
Oh, fantastic. I was about to say, you mentioned all their gun young players, but to have Buddy back is enormous. And I know there were talks of them resting him this week, but the Swans are playing the Tigers this week, and I'm hoping to get to the game because I really want to watch Buddy. Yeah. As funny as that sounds, almost more than watching the Tigers, just because you don't know how much more we're going to get of him. And he's a once-in-a-generation player. They're talking about resting him. I really hope they don't, because he was looking in great form. He kicked 3, I believe.
Yep.
I think Logan McDonald gave him a gift in the goal square, though, for one of those goals. But still, to see Buddy kicking goals again and kicking 3, if he kicks a couple every game, who knows? He's well on his way to kick those 50-odd more he needs to kick 1,000 goals for the career.
I think he's 53 off.
I think so now. Yeah, he was 56 before. 53 now. So he's almost there. It's really not that much. If he plays... Hopefully he can play one more year after this 2022 season, and I reckon he'll do it.
Yeah, I think so. He's looking very good as well, like looking very sharp, and everything looks like he hasn't missed the whole season. So, which is great to see. Just quickly, can Sydney play finals? It's early in the season.
It's one of those ones. It's hard to say because it's so early in the year. But from what I've seen, yes, I think so. From what I've seen, yes, but things change so quickly. Teams find form that didn't have it early on, et cetera, et cetera. Sydney might drop off. So you never know. Yep. Gold Coast were a bit like that last year. What were we saying last year about the Suns, that when they had a flyer at the start of the year?
They did too. Yeah.
And you were the one that actually kept pointing out, I'm not convinced. I want to see more and more and more. And eventually they did drop off a bit. They still had a really good season considering. But whether they play finals or not, I think will be something we won't be able to definitively say till at least round 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, definitely give them a few more weeks. But so far, so good. And if you're Sydney supporters, you should be very, very impressed with them. They've started really well. A team that hasn't started very well is the Carlton Football Club.
I'm going to take a step back for this one, I think.
I'm not going to go too aggressive. I mean, it's a few days ago since we lost to Collingwood on that Thursday night. I've had some time to think about it, and as disappointing as it was on Thursday night against Collingwood, I don't think it's the end of the world. There's a lot of Carlton supporters think it is. I don't. We're 2 games in. We've played Richmond and Collingwood, 2 pretty decent teams. I know everyone's written Collingwood off over the preseason, but they've still got a bloody good team, and they've got some superstars still in their team. So for everyone thinking that, the reaction out of that game was like we lost to North Melbourne by 10 goals, is like what it was. I understand it's Collingwood. I understand the rivalry. Yep, it's huge, and it's disappointing. Whenever you lose to Collingwood, it's shocking. But I think we all need to take a chill pill and just realise we're 2 games in. We've played Richmond and Collingwood both on a Thursday night. 2 teams that play on the big stage a lot more than we have in the last few years, so they're used to it. That's my positive side of things. All right, so the negatives. Yes, we look like we have not improved at all since last year. That's another game. I think that's David Teague. I may have heard this wrong, so don't quote me, but I think it was his 30th game that we've conceded a 5-goal swing.
I'm pretty sure that's spot on. Yeah. I heard that.
Yeah, I think I heard that. I think I heard that today, which is ridiculous. 30 game. Your 30 game, that's your 30th game you've conceded 5 goals in a row. As a coaching group, what are they doing? That happened every week last season. And remember, we were talking about on this podcast. Like that is the reason why Carlton lost so many games last year, was because of those momentum swings that we just couldn't control. 2 weeks into a new season, the exact same things are happening. Like the exact same. It happened against you guys last week. We were a few points down in the last quarter and ended up losing by 20-odd points.
25.
25. There you go.
To be exact.
But was it a 25-point game? No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Piss off. Wrong person to ask.
No, it wasn't. You're right. It wasn't a 25-point game. And
but that cost us at the end of the day. I mean, we probably wouldn't have beaten you, but if we lost to you by 4 points, much more respectable than a 25-point loss.
And it's a different story.
Yeah.
You go in having a different story, go heading in around 2.
Yeah.
You took it right up to the reigning premiers. And
which we still did.
Yeah, you did.
But the scoreboard doesn't show that. Yeah.
And that won't be the narrative that's told now. Well, it wasn't the narrative that was told.
No. And then we bring the exact same thing. But the thing is, with the Collingwood game, we were close for most of it, but we never looked like winning. There was not one part of that game where I thought, we're going to win it here. Because whenever Collingwood moved it forward, they just went in, kicked a goal with ease, where we busted our asses to kick any goal. Like we took Michael Gibbons to kick him from the boundary line to get any goal through. So
and Taylor Adams had to show him up.
Yeah, exactly right. So I understand the concern, and I'm still very disappointed and very flat from the weekend. And I think it's just we're just fed up with mediocrity and accepting honourable losses, which is fair enough because it's been going on for too long. But if we just gain some perspective and realise that we have played Richmond and Collingwood the first 2 weeks, we'll be right. There's 20 games left. But in saying that, if we don't beat Freo this week, absolutely fair enough. Let the dogs out, go nuts.
I think if you guys don't beat Freo this week, we're starting a new segment, and it's just going to be you ranting about Carlton because I feel like
I won't be ranting.
The content for this podcast will be unreal.
Yeah, but then there's just. But what do you do? That's when it's like, where do you go from here if we lose to Freo this week? So, that'll be the big test. And David Teague the whole footy club need to make a statement this week in terms of selection. They need to drop some senior players. Like, I know they'll probably listen to this and they're probably going to take it personally coming from me. But Levi Casbolt, Mark Murphy, like the older players that their output just isn't as good as what it used to be, and they just need to play players that are in the VFL, knocking the door down. Players like Matt Kennedy and Liam Stocker and these guys, just bring them in.
Well, you need to show that you're trying something different. If you keep rolling up with the same team every week and getting the same result, then it's almost like, what's the point?
Yeah, they need to be ruthless. They're not ruthless enough, and then I think that's why the players are they're comfortable playing in their positions and playing in the team. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think if you guys lose to Freo this week, you might see Paddy Cripps get on the Fremantle bus and leave with their team.
Just quickly touching on Paddy Cripps as well. It just came out that he's been playing with an injury. He's been injected every game so far. And apparently the injury is meant to be a 4 to 6 week injury. And if it was the preseason, he'd be on ice. I mean, rest him. Don't keep playing him. We saw what an injured Paddy Cripps did last week. He did nothing. Just rest him, get him 100% right for the back half of the season when we actually, who knows, if we're pushing for finals, you'd rather a fully fit Paddy Cripps instead of a Paddy Cripps is playing on one leg and then getting abused by his own supporters,
Oh, any day of the week. You want to, and not even that. Be fair to the poor guy. How long has he, he's bled for this club. You see him play injured most seasons. By the end of the year, he's always cooked. His shoulders are gone. And then you're going to let him play injured like that. Yeah, cool. He might not feel the pain during the game because of all these injections, but he would be hurting. He's only a young guy. What is he, 26, 27?
Yeah, 26.
Yeah, he's only 26 years old and he's suffering. Let him recover, come out, and then, the results will speak for themselves and what he does. We all know what kind of a gun Cripps is at his best. But don't play him injured, especially if it's as serious as they're saying it is. A 4 to 6 week injury is extremely serious. It's it's not a grand final. If it was a grand final, inject him up, let him play the game, and then he's got all off season to recover. But he's got a whole season left in front of him.
Just do it now. If they're going to do it now.
Do it now. Yeah. Get it done early. He'll come back fresh. It'll be fresh legs to the side when he comes back. They'll welcome him back with open arms.
Yeah, exactly right. And a negative about what's been happening with Paddy Cripps lately is the message that got sent to his partner as well, which is just not on. Like, if you... Carlton's don't... Like, yeah, we're Carlton supporters and we're bloody passionate about our team, and it's other teams like to take the piss out of us because we're passionate and then our team doesn't show up for us. But when you're sending messages like that to one of the players' partners, is disgusting and it's embarrassing. And if I've got no words for it. It's disgusting.
It was hard to read, to be fair. We won't go into what was said in the message. I'm sure most people have probably seen it by now anyway. It's all over social media, but yeah, it was. There's no need to. I don't know if you want to attack the player. I mean, well, first of all, you shouldn't be attacking the player for starters, right? There's no need because don't make it personal. It's a game at the end of the day. We love it, but it is a game. Don't attack the player. But to take it even further and then message his partner who's got nothing to do with his performance or the team's performance or anything like that, especially when it's been well publicized that, she has her mental health battles, and we all know how serious that is, especially now more than ever. And to come out and say something like that it was disgusting.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And sickening. And I'm glad a lot of Carlton supporters have pointed that out over social media as well, because it's it can tarnish a supporter base and a club as well with things like that. So it's not on, and it's disgusting. So hopefully that's the end of it. But a positive from that game. This is the last thing we'll say about the game. We probably dragged on a bit too much.
Yeah.
It was the Darcy Moore Harry Mackay battle, which was great. Like, it was the ultimate defender having a blinder and the attacker having just as good of a game, to be honest.
It was. Yeah. It was. I mean, it's hard to say because you look at the scoreboard and you go, well, Harry kicked 4. He obviously won the day. But if you watch the game, Darcy Moore also, like you said, had a blinder, and it was hard to pick who was the better player that day. I mean, Darcy Moore had a lot of intercept possessions as well, but that's also just his footy smarts and probably pulled off Mackay a bit, and Mackay wasn't even in that contest. So is that really a loss for Mackay? Probably not. But he still kicked 4.
Yeah.
It was just great to watch. It was that really old school battle, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The forward,
it was great.
Yeah, key forward, key defender battle, which you don't see as often these days.
Yeah, literally, Darcy Moore would win one of the battles, and then Harry would go take a mark, kick a goal. Like, it was just back and forth like that. It was great to watch. And yeah, I mean, if Harry keeps playing, if he can kick 4 on Darcy Moore, he's going to have a bloody good season.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he can keep his feet a little bit more, he probably could have kicked more than 4 as well. And
he probably should have kicked 4 against Richmond round 1 as well.
He probably should have.
So
he's got a gun.
But anyway, we're not going to get into that. But yeah, if Harry can keep up that form, he's going to have a bloody good season and a career best season. So fingers crossed for him.
Warming up that forward line nicely for Charlie to slot back in.
Don't get me started on Charlie Curnow, please. All right, let's move on to
you're loving it, aren't you?
Essendon Football Club. No, we can't go too hard on them. I mean, they've just got 3 injuries that are minimum 6-week injuries. So.
If you haven't noticed already, we do have a new sound. Press it again.
Careful,
we do have a new.
Careful. We'll end up getting death threats from Essendon supporters. So.
We will. We do have a new soundboard here at the Pressure Point Podcast, taking things to the next level. As you can tell, we're still getting used to how to use it. But yeah, no, Essendon are in a lot of strife at the moment, and it was funny because you copped a lot of flack for saying that Essendon would finish bottom of the ladder, win the wooden spoon this year. But with these injuries now, they're every chance to.
Yeah, they're in a bit of trouble, and those injuries that they copped were to some pretty important players. You know, Dylan Shields out for, they're saying possibly 8 weeks. Jai Caldwell's out for about the same time, and then Draper, they said minimum 10 weeks could be the season. So they're huge outs for a very already young team, which with not a lot of depth. So it's going to really challenge them. And yeah, I didn't choose them for the wooden spoon because I forecasted their injuries, but I mean, they're not playing great either. They got absolutely pants by Port Adelaide, which was expected. Port Adelaide are a bloody good team.
They are. But then they also did blow a 40-point lead to Hawthorne, who aren't expected to be great themselves. Yep. So yeah, I didn't think they were going to have a great season before all this, but this doesn't make life easy for them, and I reckon they're probably going to struggle through the rest of the year, and they'll. In one positive aspect for them, they can give young guys a go and test their depth a little bit. But I don't think they'll be doing anything damaging this year. Yeah,
exactly. I think it's going to be a long season for them, and just hope they're just checking on your Essendon mates throughout this time. They might need you. They might need you, Joseph. All right,
name drops.
What happened to your boy Jack Graham?
Well, it's an interesting one. You don't see it very often these days, but he was he's given a $1,500 fine for careless contact with an umpire, which, I mean, if you've seen the footage, you understand what I'm talking about. it's a little bit stiff. He was following his man it was at a centre bounce for perspective. And we all know that the umpire, he throws the ball up or bounces it, and he does always run backwards, same spot every time. And he gives the players warning as well. I mean, they do it at local level. I'm presuming they would at AFL level. So Jack Graham's followed his man around, probably caught half a metre behind him, and his back leg has clipped the umpire, and they've both fallen over. And because of that, he's been given a $1,500 fine, which with an early plea, he can accept, I think it was like $1,000 or something like that. Surely you're not going to fine someone for an accidental, they tripped each other. I mean, look, it's not like, I know that you're going to protect the umpire, but it wasn't like he hit him or he swung at him. He's tripped over him.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And I don't know. I mean, look, $1,000 for him wouldn't be much. It's not like it would be for you or I, but so it's not going to affect him too much. But I don't know. I just think it's a little bit silly. Oh, geez, money bags. Money bags over here. So yeah, no, I don't. I think it's probably a little bit harsh, but oh well, it is what it is. I'm just looking after my boys.
Yeah, definitely harsh. And Jack Graham's had a great start to the season as well. He's been really good for you blokes.
He is really good, and his aerobic capacity is being well noted now by the football world as a whole. I think he's been known at Richmond for a while, but inside the four walls there. But now I think everyone else is starting to take notice of what a great midfielder he is and is going to be.
Yeah, for sure. AFLW finals are upon us. How are the teams looking ahead of that one?
They're looking good. Collingwood is a bit of a surprise. They hadn't lost a game for a fair chunk of the season, and they've lost a couple recently, and they've ended up finishing third on the ladder, which was a surprise. But I think we're in for a great final, especially Collingwood versus North Melbourne at Victoria Park. That's probably, they were my two tips for premiership favourites, and we said it a couple of weeks ago. I think you were back in North Melbourne, and I was back in the Pies, and now they're playing off in a qualifying final, so it'll be interesting to see who goes through there. And then obviously you got Melbourne Freo as well at Casey Fields on the Saturday. So exciting times ahead for the AFLW, and it's hard. I don't like saying it, but I guess it's interesting to see when the AFLW and the AFL clash. The early parts of the AFL season, the later parts of the AFLW season, and it's what's important to try not to forget that the AFLW is still going, because the finals especially, I've watched finals in the past, they're usually some real cracking games. So I'm excited to see who comes out on top of these ones, and I think my match of the round anyway for the qualifying finals is definitely going to be Collingwood versus North, because from what they've done all year, it's going to be great.
Yeah. Who's your tip for the flag?
Still Collingwood for me.
Yeah.
Even though they got North. I did think it'd be a Collingwood North grand final, but the way the latter's worked itself out, they're playing now. But yeah, I still think Collingwood for me, though. They just look too strong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Collingwood as well for me. All right. Well, let's move on to the round 3 games. It's the Easter weekend coming up this week. So it's a longer weekend of footy, which is great. It's always a great round, isn't it? Easter weekend, just footy pretty much from Thursday to Monday. It's great.
Which is what we love. What more would you want than footy almost every day? We had it last year a little bit as a taste, but I think this is just perfect because there's not too much footy, but just enough.
It's great. And yeah, it starts on Thursday night with Collingwood and Brisbane. As we said from the top, it was meant to be at the Gabba, but due to COVID reasons, it is being moved to Marvel Stadium. And I think the Pies are going to go in as favourites now that's down here.
They are going in as favourites, and Brisbane, obviously, like you said, 0-2, but I think they'll be hungry for a win. I'm tipping the Lions. I just think they're a good side. I think Danaher playing up against Darcy Moore in the backline will be a great matchup as well. Hopefully it's a little bit similar to Mackay and Moore, as we spoke about earlier. But yeah, I think Brisbane are going to get this one, it was despite not being the favourites.
Yeah, I think yeah, and they're desperate for it as well. They don't want to be 0-3, so I think they'll get the win there too. We've got Good Friday footy. We've got the 2 games on Good Friday. We've got North and the Doggies and Adelaide and the Gold Coast. Then I think, apart from the North, I think North Melbourne at $8.50 to beat the Dogs. So we all know who's going to win there. But the Adelaide Gold Coast game, is going to be a beauty, I reckon, at Adelaide Oval.
I want to see if Tex Walker can continue his form.
He's flying, isn't he?
He's kicked 5 and 6 in the last 2 weeks. So I want to see if he can keep flying and kicking bags like that. I can't even tip who's going to win. Maybe the Adelaide Oval factor will get the Crows over the line, but I think it'll be a ripping game.
Yeah.
A lot better than, like you said, the North Melbourne Western Bulldogs game. Although in saying that, we couldn't mount a case for Adelaide in round 1, and look what they did. So, I mean, it's that football's that type of game at the moment where you really don't know. But yeah, I'm still going to have to tip the Bulldogs, obviously. I can't go against my gut feeling, and also, like you said, the odds, $8.50 going in against Bulldogs, $1.07. So yeah, definitely gone for the doggies there, and the way they've played as well in that thrilling game they had on the weekend. Dogs for me, and then I think I'm going to go Adelaide over the Suns, and I'm only giving it to them because of the home ground advantage.
Yeah, for sure. What about your Tigers on the Saturday against the Swans?
Well,
that's a big game.
If you had asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said us straight away. I'm still saying us, but a little bit more thought goes into it now, especially with the way the Swans have been playing. And if Buddy plays, who knows? I hope. I'm in that torn feeling at the moment. I hope he's rested, to give us a bit of an easier time down back, but also hope he's not, because I'd love to go watch him play again. So we'll see how that pans out. But I'm still, I can't go past the Tigers. I think we're too good at the moment.
You're looking very good. Just getting the job done as you do.
Yeah, we're just ticking away nicely. Yeah. I wasn't at the game. I had to work, unfortunately, on Sunday. But from all reports, the game on Sunday, the last half wasn't entertaining at all. Did you watch it? I think you probably
watched a bit of it. It was a bit boring. Like, you just had the control of the game from the get-go. So
it almost seemed like we knew we were up by enough to hold the game, and we weren't worried about attacking too much, and we just sort of took it easy, which sounds arrogant, but it's probably not a bad tactic. If you can get away with those sort of games early in the year, you might not burn yourself out as quickly towards the end of the season. So hopefully we can do something similar like that, but I'm still tipping the Tigers.
Yeah. We've got Essendon Saints Saturday night as well. Saints been they were disappointing last week against the D's. They'll be filthy with that result, especially at Marvel, their home deck, where Melbourne never play.
For Spud's game as well.
Yeah, exactly. So they would be filthy about that performance. And they take on Essendon. So it's a great opportunity for them to bounce back, isn't it?
Well, I think anyone playing Essendon's got a great opportunity to get a win. So, now more than never. But
I tried to be nice, but
it's not going to happen. And it's at Marvel Stadium, both their home grounds, but I think St Kilda play it really well, and I keep saying this, but I can't see them losing, although at the same time I can, because no one knows what's going to happen, but St Kilda for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got a belter on Saturday night. We've got West Coast and Port Adelaide at Optus Stadium. Huge clash, that one. Port Adelaide, as good as they've been, this will be their biggest test playing. I think this is the biggest test for any team in the competition, is playing West Coast on their home deck.
Yeah, not many people beat West Coast over there.
No.
Collingwood famously did last year in the finals, which is extremely unexpected, but that must have just been an off night for the Eagles, I would have thought, because they don't lose very often over there, and I still don't think they will. I think they'll hold Port Adelaide off. I think because they're both good sides. West Coast will be a good side again this year, I believe, but over there, I don't think Port will get them.
Yeah. And then Sunday, we've got Carlton Freo at Marvel Stadium. As I said earlier, huge game for the Blues. They need to win this. If they don't, big trouble. Freo are going to be without Nat 5, so huge opportunity to get on the board.
Massive. And I said this last week, so maybe I'm jinxing them, but I still think Carlton should be winning this, and I'm going to tip them.
Yeah, we should be. Definitely. Expected to.
You're expected to win this
game. This is the game where all the negativity and everything that we copped last week would be deserving if we drop this game. So we should win that, and I'm not even going to say it any other way, especially without 5.
I would hate to see the aftermath if you guys
it'd be
lose
shocking.
This game.
It'd be shocking. You thought last week was bad, this would be 10 times worse.
I was going to say, I know you were watching as well, but we're watching our good friend Terry from Blue Abroad. His fan cams after the game, and there were some unhappy Carlton supporters. So
very, very, very vicious.
It's going to be very hot in that live stream if they lose again.
Yep. Sunday night we've got GWS and Melbourne. Manuka Oval, bit different.
Somewhere unusual.
Yeah. The D's are in hot form. GWS not so much. They're 0-2. The D's are 2-0. So you'd think Melbourne get the job done here.
Yeah, you have to go with the D's, don't you? The form they've been in, and compared to the form the Giants have been in, and that's all you can really go by this early in the season as well. So sure. Melbourne for me for sure. And what do you just touching on the Giants? Do you see them having any sort of impact this year? Or
I think they're cooked, and we saw it last year as well, didn't we?
Yeah,
they looked done. I think they just need to regenerate.
Do you think they'll bottom out? Do you think they'll be the side that bottoms out?
Yeah. But they've still got some really good players in their team.
Oh, so fantastic players!
It's bizarre what's going on.
It's unusual. I don't know what's. I was gonna say I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but thanks to that AFL doco, I've actually got a fairly good idea what's going on behind the scenes. But it's just it's not clicking for them at the moment, and Melbourne just seems to be playing really good footy.
Yep.
Microwave went off.
What are you cooking? Is your membership in there, is it?
Do I look like a Carlton supporter?
And then the last game of the round is on Easter Monday. We've got Geelong and Hawthorne.
traditional.
Very good. It's always great, this game. Bit different now that the Hawks are down the bottom and Geelong are up the top, but I'm sure still be a good clash.
Oh, it'll be a good clash. It always is between these two teams. MCG, I'm sure the crowd will be big. Everyone's got a day off on Monday, or most people do anyway. So I think it'll be a good game. It's hard to look past Geelong with the form they've been in. And I guess all Hawthorne can hope for is that Chris Scott doesn't have a go at him at quarter time.
Exactly right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Geelong turn out this week after all that controversy. All right, well, that is us done for this week. It's been a big round of footy, and there's a big round coming up. So it's never a dull moment in footy, isn't there? It's great, and we love it. But yeah, as we say every week, make sure you leave us a review, subscribe to us on iTunes, follow us on Spotify, and YouTube as well. All the support is great. Our YouTube will be back up and running now after a couple of weeks of a few technical difficulties, so it'll be back up and running now. But yeah, enjoy round 3 and have a great Easter. Before
we finish, I wanted to finish, and I'm sorry I cut you off, but we can't forget to mention our wonderful sponsors.
Oh, no, yes. Sorry, Enz.
We forgot to mention our wonderful sponsors, whom this podcast is brought to you by. So we've got Million Mar, as always, and Marcus, I'll let you take it away with our last.
And Retrojet Prince, go Enz, woo!
So yes, once again, we will wish you goodbye. Have a good Easter, have a good week, enjoy the footy, and until next week, hope your team wins.
And have a great Easter.